Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. If you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up or commenting below. If you want to see more of my videos, press the subscribe button and click on the bell for notifications. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products to make this card, you can visit my online store and the link is in the description box below. Sometimes we're in need of a beautiful sympathy card. And so that's what I wanted to create with you today. I wanted it to be interactive and bring a little bit of joy to the person who is receiving this. And so I created a peekaboo door card, and I'm using the Timeless Tulip stamp set, which has a beautiful sympathy sentiment, which is "May the memories of yesterday comfort you today." And I just thought that worked really perfect with this peekaboo door technique that I'm going to show you today. So we're using a lot of products to make this card. We're using the Timeless Tulip stamp set, as well as some of these pretty gold foil leaves. We've also used the dies Forever Flourishing, as well as this shape here that we create the door with. It comes from the Hippo and Friends die set. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you're going to need is a 4" by 5 1/4 piece of Whisper White cardstock. And we're going to be doing some of our background stamping on this. And then we'll also cut the door, the peekaboo door, from the center. The colors we're going to be using for our tulips: the Mossy Meadow for the stem and leaves, and then Merry Merlot for the actual flower. So let's go ahead and stamp our flower on this paper. You're going to be creating 3 flowers that will sit in the background of our layering. We're kind of creating like a little bouquet off to the side of our paper. So I'm going to stamp the first one just off the paper a little bit on the left at the top. Good pressure. So before I get much further, I want to show you the stamp set. This stamp set is a distinctive stamp set, which means you're going to get some light and darks and shaded areas in that image. And I really love stamping with these types of stamp sets because it just makes it super easy to get a beautiful image. This also has some really great greetings and sentiments. And so this is the one we're using today. And it coordinates with a punch. So we're going to be using this punch to cut out the large tulip as well as the leaf. So let's go ahead and stamp a second one. This one is going to be near the first one, and it's going to be pointing up towards the middle. When you ink these stamps, you don't need to press hard. You're just adding a little bit of ink to the top of that stamp so that you don't get too much ink pooling where the dark areas or the shadows are. Now for my original card, I did have this one come down here and it was pointing away, kind of like a little drooping tulip. After the card came together, I wish I would have had it coming out and just pointing off a little bit like in this direction. So that's what we're going to do today for our second card. So just move it down and bring it out so that it's pointing out and away from that grouping of tulips. So something like this. While we have this ink out, let's go ahead and stamp some on a scrap piece of paper that we will punch out. We have one here in the background, another on top, and then we have one underneath and another underneath. So that's a total of 4 more tulips. So I just have a scrap piece of paper, and you need something that's a little bit wider than 2 inches for these tulips. Just going to ink that up and stamp 4 tulips. Next, we're going to stamp our stems off of these tulips here, and we're going to use the Mossy Meadow. And you're just going to place it near the bottom of each flower, and then just let that stem fall how it does. Most of that area will be covered up, but we want to have it there just in case it doesn't get covered up and we want to see that flower is connected to a stem. So something like that. Let's go ahead and add our leaf. So this is the leaf that matches the punch. And so we're just going to add a couple of these along the stems. Most of these will be covered up, so don't put a lot of thought and effort into it. We're just kind of filling in some of that white space. And you can rotate it so that you get some different angles and shapes with that stamp. Let's do one here at the bottom as well. Okay, so there we have finished the stems and leaves for our tulips. The next step for our card is to cut out the peekaboo door. And we're going to be using the large shape of this kind of elongated octagon, and from the Hippo and Friends die set. Now, if you love the stamp set, which is a really fun one, and I'll be sharing a project with it later this week, then this die set is for you because it has some coordinating dies that go along with these stamps. You can see you've got the hippo and the unicorn and then the little sheep here. But if you just love labels and different shapes and sizes, then this is another really great die set for you because of these fun die labels and the shapes and the fact that they kind of have coordinating shapes and that they kind of stack on one another. So we're going to be using this shape, and it's the largest elongated octagon that they have. So it's this one here. So it's the largest size, and we're going to be putting that in the center of our Whisper White paper. And you do need to have it adhered to your card with a little washi tape. And you just want to make sure that you place it near the center and you have adhered it to your card so it doesn't move. So the next step is to do some partial die cutting. Now, if you've never seen this done, I have other videos showing different ideas on how to use this die cutting technique. And I will link my playlist to all my die cutting techniques up here in the right corner. And you can just look through those and find some other videos using a similar technique and all the fun things you can do with it. So my cutting plate has a beveled edge, and you can kind of see it right here. When this area, which is the bevel, is over my die, it doesn't always cut very well. Sometimes it will, just depends on the pressure of my die cutting machine. So what I do is I look at this line right here that's on the inside of that bevel edge, and that's where I'm going to line up my die. So because I don't want it to cut here, so this die here cuts, if I was to just stick it into my die cutting machine, it would cut out the whole thing and then there would be a hole. So what I want is I don't want this area right here cut. Now, this die also has a decorative edge. Can you see that cute little stitching? So what I do want is I do want some of that decorative stitching to still be on my card here at the top and on the inside of that shape. So I'm lining up this inside bevel edge line to the bottom of this top piece of my die cut. So just like this. And then I'm going to run this through my Big Shot. And what it's going to do is it's going to cut all the way down here. It's going to give me a little bit of that score line where the stitched line is, but it will not cut my dye all the way out. So I have gone ahead and finished running that through my Big Shot, and you want to leave your tape on because we're not quite done. On the back, you can see that I have cut out my whole shape. I have not cut the top, and I do have that cute stitching there. So now we're going to just do the opposite. We are not going to cover our die. We are just going to take that bevel edge. We're going to line up that inside of the bevel edge to this outside line. And that's going to just add the stitched lines to the top of that shape. Okay, so we can go ahead, we can look at the back, make sure that we've got that stitching, which we do, and it has not been cut. If you are feeling unsure about this technique, you should practice it on a scrap piece before doing it on your final project, just to see how your Big Shot and the supplies you have work together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that die, and you can see that it is got a little peekaboo door there. Before I feel comfortable adding a crease here, I'm just going to score it along the back. And the easiest way to do this is just to take a ruler. You're going to line up your cut lines. So I have one there and one there. And then take your bone folder and just score that a couple times so that you have a nice score line to fold that on. And then you just fold that back, and then you can crease that fold. So now we have this really fun peekaboo door. So the rest of our project really is just creating beautiful layers with this card. So let's go ahead and add our peekaboo door to our card base. So I don't normally use this size of card base, but because this door flap opens from the bottom, I thought it would be fun to mimic that same look for the card. So it's opening the exact same way. Okay, so this is a 4 1/4 by 11 piece of cardstock, and it's scored at 5.5 inches. So go ahead and fold that and score, and then we're going to just apply this to the center of the card. And I've just got some snail double-sided adhesive to add. You want to make sure, of course, that you don't add it to your door. Go ahead and center that on your card base. And then you can open that up and use a bone folder and just add some pressure so you make sure your adhesive sticks really nicely to both sides of that cardstock. So the next thing we're going to do is cut and add one of the Forever Flourishing dies. And I really love that fern one, and I think it makes it feel like it's part of a bouquet. So go ahead and grab that and some soft sea foam. And that's the color of cardstock we have as well. I'm going to place that on there. And this is just a scrap piece that fits the die. And I'm going to actually cut two so that I have one big one, and then I have some little pieces I can stick in between flowers and leaves if I need to. So I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine and be right back. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut that out, and I have two, and I did separate the top from the bottom, and I may also cut some of these off so that I can use them around my bouquet of flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to my card, and I'm going to just place it right here in the middle, and I'm going to add it with some liquid glue, and then we'll trim it, and then we'll add the second part. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of get an idea of where I need the glue, and I want that here on the top, this one, this top one here, and on this side one, and maybe just a little bit on that base one. And then we're going to lift it up and trim it and then add the second half. So the other day, if you saw my video, I used this same technique to get some detailed dies on my card. And so I've just got a paintbrush, and I use this for my liquid glue. I just make a little dab of glue on some scrap paper, and then I can just add that glue to the back of these really detailed dies. So I've just placed glue right where I wanted it. I'm going to go ahead and add it to my card. And I'm okay if it kind of goes over that flower a little bit. And then I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to trim off any areas that are coming off the door. Now there's this little leaf right here. I'm not going to trim that, but anything that's bigger, I'm just going to trim it off the door. And then we're going to add it to the other side afterwards. Try to keep it in one piece if possible. So now we have this little piece here. Just get a little bit of glue on it. And then you can use a pickup tool or something to pick it up. And then you're just going to add it right where we cut it off. Just match that shape up. And you can see, not too difficult to do. And then let's do the same thing here. I want to kind of see really quick, yeah, if this one right here needs to be added to our door. And it looks like it does. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that first. So we've got a seamless fern going through our card, and our pop-up door still works. Okay, so for our next step, we're going to punch out our flowers. And when you do this, you want to start on the left. And the reason for that is because you have also the leaf punch, and you don't want to put a leaf punch through one of your flower stamps. So just go ahead and line them up and punch each one out. Okay, so we're going to take these flowers that we've punched out and we're going to add them into our bouquet. So the first one I want to add is just a little lower, and this one's going to come off our card just slightly, and that's okay. I'm just going to place it with some glue, just some glue at the bottom so I can tuck leaves in and stuff around it. So maybe somewhere around there. And then we're going to place another one down here at the bottom. This one's going to just kind of poke out. And this one's an interesting one because we actually do two. We layer one on top and then we have one underneath it so that it looks good when you have the door open and closed. So let's go ahead and do the one for the bottom first. So lift up that door and place just a little bit of glue at the bottom. And then you're just going to add a second one on top, right over that first one, and you're adding glue to the top of this one. All you need is just a little dab of glue. like that. And now you have one on top and one on bottom. And then for this last one, because this image is full when it's closed, and then when it's open, it looks a little barren, we're going to add it underneath. So just another little dab of glue, place that down, and then actually close this and line it up so that it looks seamless when the door is closed. All right, so now our tulips are down and it looks good when it's both open and closed. Now we're going to fill it in with some of our leaves, our stamped and punched leaves, as well as we have some of these extra ferns. And we're going to place a couple of the gold die cut ferns and leaves in there as well. So let's now punch out some leaves. So we've got one leaf here up at top, just kind of fill in this space here. We have two down here. And so let's go ahead and stamp and punch out 3 leaves. And then just use that punch. And this time you want to go from the right side because the tulip is on the right side, and so then we are not punching out paper we don't need. Let's go ahead and add these leaves around our tulips, and you really can place them anywhere you want. So if you don't like them where I place them, then add them where you want them. So I'm going to place this first one up here so it just kind of tucks into that white space, and it's going to be actually underneath the door. And that's just going to give us some interest, especially when we open it up. So it's going to look like that. And then this other one gets tucked in. Kind of both of them come down here by this bottom tulip. And maybe let's flip that one over. Maybe something like that. So just a little dab of glue, or using glue dots, go ahead and just add these leaves down here to the tulips. And you don't want to use too much adhesive because that will give us the opportunity to kind of tuck things underneath and add things as we want them. So that looks pretty with that under and over. Let's go ahead and add some more of these ferns. We did cover up a lot of these ferns right here. And so you can see we've got a little bit here and a little bit there, but we do want to kind of have those peek out just a little bit more. So we could place one here like that. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that would be okay. So go ahead, and this time I'm just going to do a little dab of glue. I'm not going to use the brush, just so that, again, we can kind of tuck things up and under. Don't want everything to be down. So we've got something like that. And then let's add another. So we're going to cut this one. Let's cut this one right here and right there. And then maybe we can slide this one under here. Something like that. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and put some glue dots on the bottom of these leaves here, just to secure things down. I'm just going to lift up that tulip slightly and add this over that area there. Okay. So just making layers, that's what we're doing. Now let's grab our gold foil leaves. So every packet, you get 3 sheets of these gold foil leaves and then 3 sheets of like pattern papers. So I'm thinking of using this leaf pattern here, which is different from my original because they just give you so many great choices. And then let's use this berry looking one right here. And this is just adding a little bit of accent, gold accent to our card, just to kind of punch up and help everything get really pretty. Now I have a feeling that this is going to be a little on the big side. So what I'm going to do is actually remove this bottom one and then this one here. So I've got just a smaller piece, two smaller pieces of little berry. And I think I can just kind of squeeze those underneath. So I think that one looks good there. And then this one maybe down here. And then this leaf one we can put up here at the top. Okay. Or maybe this one could come, hold on. Sorry, I'm just kind of creating here. So just a little bit of, yeah, so I kind of like that one up here. And then this one, maybe this one down here. So it's nice to be able to move things around before you decide. So maybe that one goes there, and then we can put this one kind of like it coordinates with that one, and just bring it down underneath. So something like that. I think that looks nice. I think we could also cut this here and create another little one up there if we wanted. Maybe I'll do that. So I'm going to just trim this bottom 3 leaves off. Okay, so I've just added a little bit of gold here at the top, here on top of this leaf here, and then that berry one like we talked about. So let's go ahead and work on our sentiment. For our sentiment, we're going to be using Memento Black ink and a little trick with some washi tape. So the sentiment is together and I want them separate. So what I'm going to do is ink it up, and then I'm going to take some washi tape and I'm going to cover over the part I don't want. Stick that to the clear block, and then I'm going to stamp it. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing for the other half. I wanted to cut these out with a coordinating shape, so I'm back to my Hippo and Friends dies, and I'm going to take that smaller elongated octagon, and we're going to just go ahead and cut these both out with that. So I've done that. So now I'm going to add this little gold strip, and it is a 1/2 inch by 2 1/4. Just going to add that to the back and center it. And then this gets added to my card with some dimensionals. So go ahead and place that, and it's just going to go right between those flowers, kind of in the middle of your bouquet. And then when you open it, you're going to place the second part of that greeting right in the center. Just like that. The last thing I'm going to do is tie 2 bows. I have 10 inches of crinkled white seam binding ribbon and then 8 inches of the gold twine. So I have those 2 bows tied, and I'm just going to stack them with some glue dots underneath this tulip here. So you can see that first bow's there. Then I'm going to place a second glue dot on top of that first bow and add my gold bow, just like that. And now my card is all done. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit creativechelsea.com for a free tutorial of this project and to purchase the supplies needed. Have a creative day! Bye!